Hey guys, this is Day-10. In previous video, we have completed the CSS colors by building a set of colored markers. So let's move on to the learn HTML by building a registration form, right? So let's start our course. Okay, this is our preview we seen in the last video. So yeah, this is the form of registration form. Okay, first name, last name, email ID, create a new password, account, a radio button, a choose file, a number input, and some select tasks with some input box and a checkbox and button. Okay, let's start it. So as usual, let's start with the doc type. Okay, so doc type HTML. So let's check our code. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's move on. This is a default for every website, right? So for every project we are just adding this. So let's add an HTML tag. Let's add an HTML tag with the language of English, right? The language English. So let's check our code. So sorry, I forgot to close our HTML tag. So now let's check our code. Yeah, it's right. Okay. Now let's add an opening and closing tag for the head and body. So yeah, that's pretty easy. So let's add an head and let's close our head. Let's open the body and let's close our body. Okay, let's check our code. Control enter. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. Okay, so they are telling to add a title and a meta element to the head. Go to give the project title of registration. Wait. So let's add a title with the registration form inside. Okay, let's close our title and let's add a meta tag with the asset of value UTF-8, right? So let's check our code. Let's check our code. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. So next is self-closing link element. So okay, they are telling to link the style element. So link with the relation of style sheet, right? Style sheet. And with the references, simply the styles, right? The location is styles.css. So let's check our code. It's right. Let's move on. Okay. Within the body, add an h1 tag. Yeah, it's easy. h1. So registration form inside h1, type registration form, right? So yeah, let's close the h1 so you can see. So before that, checking the code, let's move to left and to right. Okay, so yeah, so let's check our code right now. Oh yeah, it's pretty well. So now you can view a preview. Very good. Okay, so yeah, below 18, use the following text with the paragraph element. Encourage users to register. Okay, they are telling to just copy this, Control C, and just type it inside a paragraph. Just type the stuff and let's close the stuff. Let's Control Enter. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. Okay, so the view edge stands for viewport height. It's equal to 1% of the height of the viewport. This makes it relative to the viewport height. Okay, the viewport height. So it's time to spare the project of some CSS. Begin with giving a body a width of 100%. So yeah, it is a default styles, which means the body takes 100% of the width. Okay, then they telling to take the height as 100 view height. Control S. Sorry, let's check our code. Let's check our code. It's right. Let's move on. Right? Okay. So now get rid of horizontal scroll bar by setting a body default margin, adding some browsers to 0. Literally, yeah, you can see we have 100 view with height, right? You can see, but even we also have some horizontal width and vertical, right? So they're telling to get rid of the horizontal bar. So you can they're telling to remove this horizontal bar. So setting the body default margin, adding some browsers to 0. So the browser adds some default margin. So let's remove the default margin to 0. Now let's check our code. Yeah, you can see the default scroll bar is not visible, right? Yes, that's better. Now make background easy and nice by changing the body color to background color to Control C, Control V, Control Z. That's background color to the hexadecimal value of 1B, 1B, and 32. Okay, so yeah, you can see a darker version. And let's increase the brightness of the color by using the value color #fi We have 6 F7. Okay, let's check our code. Yeah, it's now visible. Okay, so let's check our code. Yeah, it's right. Okay. As suggested title, you creating a form. So after the PLM, instead of inserting a form with an action attribute, targeting this link. Okay, I can understand it. Control C. So let's create a form without wasting any further ado. Let's create a form with the action, which means where this form should be submitted, right? So the action to this location. So let's close our form. Now check our form. Yeah, it's pretty well. Okay, so move on. So next, method is totally mostly frequently used just two type, that is method get and method post. Okay, so the method attribute specifies how to send form data to the URL specified action. The form data can be sent via get post. Okay, get is URL parameter, or via post, which is requires a data in the request body. Via with the post method equal to post. Set the method attribute to send your form data via post. So post get means we are just getting the data. So post means just we are posting our data. So now in this website we are just posting our website, right? So we can add a method equal to post. So we are just entering our information. So yeah, that is the form. Okay, as the form will have three distinction section, three field set elements within the form. Okay, so in our form there is a three section major sections. So for each major section let's add a field set. Okay, this is the first field set. Just control C, enter, control V, enter, control V. Okay, let's check our code. Yeah, that's right, three major sections. Okay. Okay, the first field set holds our name, email ID, password. Okay, so they're telling to just add your label element to the first field set. So let's add a label. Okay, so it's the label. Let's close out the label. So let's check our code. What they're telling, the four label elements should all direct child of the first field set. Make sure you close the label elements. There should be a four label. Okay, control C, 1 2 3. I think they, but why they are telling 4? Let's do it. Let's check whether this is right. No, let's add 4. Let's check. Yeah, it's right. So we should have 4 labels. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so now let's add the things they are entered. So first enter your first name. Okay, so yeah. In second label, let's enter your last name. Okay, so yeah. In third label element, so enter your email. Sorry, email. Okay, then last, let's create a new password. Create a new password. Okay, let's check our code. It's right. Let's move on. So you can see it's same line. So sorry, A is scattered. Okay, it's now right. Okay, so the rem. Okay, you can use rem also em. So rem is the larger unit and m is small compared to this rem. Okay, so rem unit stands for root m and is relative to the font size of the HTML. Okay, so as label elements are inline by default, yes, so you can see inline, so they are all occupies the same line. You can see when I zoom in this side, everything is in the same line. So because this is a display is inline, right? So yeah, so yes, they are displayed side by side on the same line, making the line hard to read. Yeah, it's difficult to read. So let's make the label element as block element. Okay, yeah, each line has each now then each label has a different line, and let's make a margin. So we have space between each line. Margin as 0.5 rem with 0, which means the top and bottom of the label as 0.5 rem spacing or margin, and left and right as 0 margin. Okay, yes. Nest an input element within each label. Be sure to add each input after the label text. Include a space after the colon. Okay, we are telling to nest an input element within each label. Okay, let's add an input with each label. Okay, and input and add an space. Okay, so let's add another input, close it. Let's add another input, and finally let's add another input. Control enter. Yep, there is an error. You should nest input element within the label elements. Oh my god, that's my fault. Okay, so Control X. So let's paste it here. Control X. Let's paste it here. Sorry. Control X. Let's paste it here. Here. Control X. Let's paste it here. Okay, now let's check our code. Control enter. Yeah, it's right. It's everything in the same line. So yeah, the following accessibility best practice: link input elements the label together using for. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, for helps to use for best accessibility. So let's give the for with first name. Okay, so for the label, and for second label, let's give a for equal to last name. Okay, now let's add an for attribute for the third label, for email, and for this for equal to new password, right? Okay, so use the following as values for respective ID attributes. Okay, so let's make it as even ID2 for this each input element, right? So you can see ID, control B, ID, control B. Instead of first name, we are going to write last name, and for this input ID equal to email, right? Okay, so now for the last ID equal to new password. Okay, so yeah, let's control enter. It's right. Let's move on. Okay, specify the type attribute. Okay, a type. Yes, we know there are many types like type numbers, text, and anything. Type email and type password. Okay, there are many types. Okay, so email type only allows emails with at and dot in the domain. Okay, yes, type is abstract. We put the ones if the site does not use HTTPS. Oh yeah, I can understand it. So let's add those stuff. So first of all, name is a type of just a text, right? So text, and our last name is also a type of text. So yeah, tex text, and thirdly email. Okay, email is a type of email itself. Okay, so email which need an at symbol and a dot. Okay, so for fourth we need a password type equal to password. Okay, now check our code. Let's move on. The first input element with the type of submit is automatically set to submit to its nearer parent form element. To handle the form submission after last field set element, add an input element with the type equal submit and value attribute to the submit. Okay, we are telling to give a value to submit. So first input with the type equal to submit. They are trying to change this. I don't know whether that is true or false. We should add input element after the last field set. Sorry, it's not here, it's here. Last input. So input type equal to submit. Okay, so I think it's right now. Still is enter. You should add input element after the last field set. Oh my god, it's yes, that's right. So every submit button is last of the form, right? So you can see you should give the input element a value. Okay, they are telling to give a value to that is a capital S with the word submit. Now let's check our code. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. Okay, at this point you should be able to submit the form. However, you might notice not much happens. Let's check it. Okay, done. So it's just an alert message. But when you're working with real submit button, it goes to the website, right? But you can make it more interactive add and required attribute to the field set. Okay. Now if you try without submit, you should have recorded as an error message. Right. So add required attribute to the input with the first field set. Okay. So we are going to add an required attribute, right? So yes, this means the input should be compulsorily completed before submitting. Okay, so this is the stuff meaning of this required. So now let's control enter. Yeah, it's right. So when I submit, it's telling that please fill out this field, which means this is the required field. Okay. Yes. Okay. Certain type attribute values come with built-in form validation. So built-in form validation means when I enter something like see, you can see something, 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 something. Okay. So when I submit it, you can see this telling us your email is not like this. AD is not an email ID. You should write an at with the email ID and there is a dot also mixing. Okay, so this is the called form validation, built-in form validation for email ID. So add a custom validation to the password input element by adding a minimum length attribute value of 8. Okay, let's add a custom validation to the input. Okay, so add a custom validation to the password input, that is our password should have a minimum length min length min length equal to 8, right? So 8 is the minimum password required. So now the checkout code, yeah, it's right. Let's move on. So okay, so what they're telling is with the type equal to password, you can use a pattern to use a regular. Okay, yes, pattern. So pattern is also used in CSS or HTML, but don't worry more about this because we're going to see this stuff in our upcoming JavaScript stuff, right? So I think it's coming in JavaScript. So that's all. This is not to worry. So the above is a regular expression with the matches 8 or more lower classes. Okay, so yes, 0 to 5, then remove the minimum length and try it out. Okay. Control C. So instead of writing this minimum length of 8, we can also write a pattern equal to this. Okay, so this is both as same meaning, which means that has 8 elements. So this also have 8 elements, which can be which numbers 6, 7, 8, 9 are not should not be included. That is the meaning of this. So it's just for knowledge. Okay. So let's go next section. From this section, we'll ask for the type of account that user is opening. Start by adding two label. The second feature. Okay. Let's add a label. Two label. Okay. So two label. So check our code. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. Okay. So user will allow to choose either a personal or a business. To do this, within each of these first two label elements, add an input element to the type radio. Okay. So yeah. So we are going to choose two element thing, right? So input. Let's add an input with the type equal to radio. So let's close this. Just copy this, Control C, and now paste it, Control V. So now check our code. Yeah, it's right. You can see the radio button, two radio button is visible. So let's add a text within each corresponding label. Add immediate input. Add a space to add a text. Okay, so let's add a space and add a text with the personal. Here, let's add a space and add business. So now check our code. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. And you only want one radio button to be selected. Yes. So we can have a form that is any one. We can create a personal account or business account, right? So now when I tick personal and business, both can be selected. So to avoid this, we can use a name attribute. Okay. So yes. So let's copy this account type first. Control C. So let's give a name. So name of this radio button is account type, right? So same wise, let's give a name equal to account type. Okay. So now when I click business, I can't select personal. When I click personal, I can't select business. Either one can be selected, right? So this is the usage of the name class. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Certainly, users can submit the form without checking the data button. Although you previously used required to indicate that input is required, it won't work in this case because adding required and both will convey the wrong information to the users. Yes. So we can add and require to this input, right? This, but we can't add and require to this because we are telling the user to click this. No, there is their option. So we can use to solve this. You can provide a context of which can be added to legend. The text account type required before the label element to the second field set and then the checked attribute to the personal input to ensure the information submitted required data. Okay, so let's add a legend. Control C. After the field set, so legend is nothing better a name to the field set, right? So let's add a legend with the type account. You can see it is visible now. Account typ type required, right? So yes, let's close our legend. So you can see now clearly this is visible, and they are telling to check our personal account. So let's check our personal account. Check. Okay, so you can see it's all defaultly checked. So anyone must check this. Okay, so let's move on to next. Okay, so wait a second. Okay, follow the accessibility best practice by linking the input element and label element in the second field set. Okay, so use personal account and business account as value of respective ID. So they are telling to give an ID for the account type. ID equal to first is personal account, right? So personal account. For second is business account, right? So let's give an ID as business account. So now let's check our code. I think it's right, but no, you should have a for attribute. Okay, I forgot to enter the for attribute. So for equal to account type as personal account, right? So let's copy this, Control C and paste here, Control V. So let's add here in this input field, in label field. So for attribute, and instead of personal now, let's add as business, right? So now let's check our code, Control Enter. Yeah, it's right. Let's move on. Okay. So you need to confirm that users has read the terms and conditions. So add a label inside a newly created label, add an input element the same type equal to checkbox. Okay, so yes. So they are telling to add an label inside a newly created label, add an input element. Okay, so yes, let's add an input element with the type equal to checkbox. Okay, so checkbox and make the input as required. Okay, let's put this as required. So let's give an ID equal to terms and conditions. Okay, so let's close this and let's close our label element. Okay, so let's link using a for attribute. Okay, so same terms and conditions. So now check our code. Okay, it's right. Okay, so I think this is enough for now today. So we are completed till 30. So tomorrow onwards, let's move on to 31 and further on. So if you like the video, just like it. If you want to join with me, just subscribe. So let's learn together. So enjoy coding, happy coding. See you in the next video.